Husband schedules all his work trips on my birthday and our anniversary. Everything made sense when I followed him. My husband, Doug, scheduled every single work trip to fall on my birthday or our anniversary for 5 straight years and claimed it was just bad luck with his company's timing. My 30th birthday, he was in Boston for a conference that he absolutely couldn't miss, even though he'd known about my party for months. Our 5th anniversary, he was in Miami for urgent client meetings that supposedly came up the week before. My 31st birthday, he was in Vegas for a trade show he forgot to mention until the day before he left. Our 6th anniversary, he was in Nashville for training he said was mandatory for his promotion. Every special day that was supposed to be about us became me alone while Doug was conveniently somewhere else for work. When I pointed out the pattern, Doug said I was being paranoid. His job didn't care about my personal calendar. He said successful men had to make sacrifices, and I should be grateful he was working so hard to provide for us. He actually said that missing a few birthdays was worth it for his career advancement, and that I'd understand when he got promoted. He'd always come back with airport gifts like cheap perfume or snow globes, saying he thought of me the whole time, but work had been too demanding to even call. His coworker, Keith, let slip at a barbecue that Doug always volunteered for trips that fell on personal dates because hotels were cheaper when other people wanted to be home. Keith said Doug bragged about getting out of expensive dinners and gifts by being away for work. When I confronted Doug, he said Keith was joking and didn't understand our relationship. But then I found charges on our credit card for expensive restaurants in those cities on the exact dates of my birthdays and anniversaries. Doug said those were client dinners, but couldn't explain why the bill showed 2 identical steak dinners and bottles of champagne. That's when I decided Doug needed to experience missing important moments. I started by scheduling my own trips for every significant date in his life. His birthday in March, I booked a spa weekend with my sister. I told him the morning of that work had sent me to a conference and left while he was expecting his surprise party. His mother's birthday dinner, I was suddenly needed in Phoenix for training. His promotion celebration, I had an urgent client emergency in Seattle. Each time, I texted him that it was just bad timing, but work came first. Doug was furious. When I missed his company award ceremony, where he was being honored, he said spouses were expected to attend, and my absence made him look bad. I reminded him that he missed 5 of my birthdays for work, so he should understand. He said that was different because his trips were real, while mine were obviously planned to hurt him. I asked how he could tell the difference, and he couldn't answer. The truth came out when I followed Doug on what he said was a work trip for our 7th anniversary. He went straight from the airport to pick up a woman named Linda from her apartment. They went to the exact restaurant where we had our first date, then to a hotel I tracked from his credit card. I knocked on their door at midnight with Doug's boss, Richard, who I'd called to verify this urgent work meeting. Richard was confused because Doug had taken personal time off, not a work trip. Doug answered the door in a robe, with Linda behind him in lingerie. Richard immediately understood what was happening. Doug tried to claim Linda was a client, but Richard recognized her as Doug's ex-girlfriend from college, who definitely wasn't a client. I served Doug divorce papers right there in front of his boss and his mistress. Doug was fired the next week for lying about work trips and misusing company funds for personal travel. Linda dumped him when she found out he'd been using our anniversary dates to cheat, meaning he was celebrating our anniversaries with her. Doug ended up alone and unemployed, begging me to reconsider because it wasn't what it looked like. I told him it looked like he'd been pretending to work while actually celebrating our special days with another woman. He learned that when you schedule work trips to avoid your wife, you might end up with no wife and no work.